to show that just because you're little, you're a kid or a teen or whatever, that you can still be fired up for God just like the adults can.
When you're united for Christ, you're always ready to share the word with other people.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Tyrone Smith, the youth minister here at the Church Without Walls. I'm super excited. Why am I excited? It's about that Can You Hear Me Now series. I know it's football season, but we may not have a football season, but that's okay. But today, we have an opportunity for you all to connect and engage in a major way. I'm super excited because one of our Ignite youth leaders, Hakemia Jackson, is actually here. She's going to be on the stage, minister, teaching, preaching, proclaiming, challenging you all today about being all that God has called you to be. Can you hear me now? But remember to like, subscribe, or share. I'm really excited. What about you, Jordan? Harmony, are you excited? Let's get it going, people. Let's go.
In my life, I've traveled some roads, a rolling stone. Nowhere feels like home. And I've seen people come and they go. Life is just a story of some highs and some lows, yeah. Tell me, do you believe in miracles? Standing there before your eyes, cry many rivers, walk through some pain, see my world crumble, I carry the shame, but I know somebody. I can hear heaven singing out. Oh, you're never alone. Oh, you're never alone.
Everybody wants to be king. We put all our hope inside material things. Oh, in your light, I now understand that everything I have ain't everything that I am. Oh, but sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough. But that's when love says you're mine. Oh, no, I've cried many rivers. I've walked through some pain. I've seen my world crumble, and I've carried the shame. But I know somebody, he called me his own. I can hear heaven singing out. Oh, you're never alone.
Oh, you're never
Oh, I may have took some time, but now I realize that my imperfections were a part of your plan. And if all things work together in the end, the broken will be beautiful.
There's not a hole too deep when God's love is deeper still. We didn't come this far to give up now. Yeah, let's go. I walked through some pain. I've seen my world crumble, and I carry the shame. I know somebody who got me his own.
Can you hear heaven singing now?
Oh, you're never alone. Oh, you're never alone. Oh, you're never alone. Oh, you're never alone. Let's prepare our minds to worship God because He's capable of providing in miraculous ways. He's able. Yeah. Yes, you are. Jesus is able.
He is more than you could ever need. He's more than the eye could see. I don't deserve his love, but he's always been there for me. You see, Jesus met me when I was at my lowest. And if you don't know Jesus, know this. He is the greatest example of generosity this world of greed has ever seen. And when Jesus hit the scene, he changed the scenery and met diversity with serenity. If you're looking for peace, he offers plenty. Jesus was and Jesus will forever be king. And when the angels sing, they sing of the grace that was displayed for sinners like me. I can't explain him and I can't describe him. And if I could, he wouldn't be Jesus, because you can't explain eternity and you can't comprehend the galaxies. But it was the loving hands of Jesus who spun them into existence and created man, knowing he would go to the cross to pay our sentence. There was a certificate of judgment with a period after the sentence, and we were sentenced to death long before he said it is finished. He is a father to the orphan, a shelter for the homeless, a hiding place for the abused, and an anchor for our storms. He stormed the gates of hell and came out on top, and the power of his gospel cannot be stopped, even when the world tries. And they try a lot. He traded places with Barabbas and became the catalyst of missions across the world, covering every portion of the atlas. If you're in need of rest, I know of a mattress. If you don't know Jesus, your future is tragic, but he gladly embraced tragedy so we could live in his presence of majesty. His presence is presence, and it's his presence that presents preciousness to a world of peasants. He is far from pretentious, but still loves those who are. He is the light of the world and hung the stars. He brings the dead to life and delivers life to the dead. He took a crown of thorns on his head so we could put crowns at his feet, and I can't wait until I get to kiss his feet that were nailed to a cross for me and for you and for every person around the world. He loves the world, and I love his word, because the word became flesh, and in his flesh he demonstrated the word to the world. He is an example to every boy and every girl. He is a lover of black people. He is a lover of white people. He is a lover of the unchurched and the assembly under the steeple. He doesn't see the believers' failures, but still takes time to celebrate their faithfulness. It's the power of the Spirit that enables us and gives us boldness when the world labels us. And if you want to label me, please call me a Jesus freak. And if that freaks you out, good. Because it's better to be good with God than to fight being misunderstood by a world that could never understand. So let it be understood that I don't worship man, we worship Jesus. And although he doesn't need us, he still sees us and pleads with us to run to the cross where he bled for us. His heart bleeds for us, his heart grieves for us, but still graciously grants us a pardon for our treason in a season where the world tries to explain away the work of the Spirit with human reasoning. There is a reason they can't. Because the Spirit is like the wind, and the wind cannot be seen. But loved is the one who believes without seeing the unseen. I'm telling you today that Jesus is something. He's something more. He's something great. And if you want to know him, you don't have to wait. He stands at the narrow path with a key to the gate, and you only have to reach out and embrace his grace. I don't care who's president. I have a king who is always present. I don't care who holds musical celebrity. The voice of the Lord will always be the sweetest melody. I don't care who owns the riches of the globe. My Jesus holds more wealth than one ruby on his robe. I don't care who is the strongest or the fastest. Nothing matches the creator of the universe and his immortal infinite status. I don't care about religious leaders who died and stayed dead. I'll only worship the one who conquered death and wears a crown on his head. His name is Jesus, and I'm telling you, he's something. He was faithful yesterday, and he is faithful today. I can feel his presence whenever I pray, and when the time comes for me to fade away, I'll remember the day I heard him say, "My name is Jesus."
Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to be here with you guys. Again, my name is Hakemia Jackson, and this series is all about, can you hear me now? Jesus, God is continuing to ask you during this pandemic, during this crisis, during the racial and social unrest, can you hear him now? Suppose that, there was a person that you were trying to reach, and it just seemed that you cannot connect and get to them. And you're continuing to ask them, can you hear me now? But yet you get nothing in return. Now look at what's going on around you. And you may be someone that's searching and that's looking for someone to hear you now. This message is for you. Today we're going to talk about a prophet that is right close by Jesus. And he's asking him, can you hear me now? So let's go to the word. We're looking at 1 Samuel chapter 3, verses 1 through 21. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel was serving the Lord by assisting Eli. Now in those days, messages from the Lord was very rare and visions were quite uncommon. One night, Eli, who was almost blind by now, had just gone to bed. The lamp of God had not yet gone out. And Samuel was sleeping in the tabernacle near the ark of God. Suddenly, the Lord called out, Samuel, Samuel. Yes, Samuel replied. What is it? He jumped up and he ran to Eli. Here I am. What do you need? Eli said, I didn't call you. Go back to bed. So he did. The Lord called out to Samuel a second time. Samuel. Again, Samuel got up, ran to Eli and said, hey, did you call me? Here I am. Eli said, no, go back to bed. Samuel did not yet know the Lord because he never had the message from the Lord. So now the Lord called a third time. Samuel. Samuel jumped up, ran to Eli, and Eli said, what do you need? Then Eli realized that it was the Lord calling the boy. So he directed Samuel. He told Samuel to go lie down, and if the Lord calls again, say, yes, Lord, your servant is listening. So Samuel went back to bed, and the Lord came and called Samuel, Samuel. Samuel replied, yes, your servant is listening. Then the Lord said to Samuel, I'm about to give you a shocking message about Israel. I've warned him. I have gone to Eli. I want you to carry out all of the threats against Eli and his family. I've warned him continually that judgment is coming, and he hasn't been disciplined. So I have vowed that the sin of Eli and his sons will never be forgiven by sacrifices or offering. Samuel stayed in bed because he was afraid to tell Eli. He was afraid to tell Eli the message of the Lord. But Eli called out to Samuel, and he said, what did the Lord say to you? Tell me everything. And my God punish you if you hide anything from me. So Samuel told Eli everything. He didn't hold anything back. It is the Lord's will, Eli replied. Let him do what is best. And Samuel grew up and was with him, and God was with him with everything that he did. And all the hopes or the people of Israel, the land of Israel, that Samuel was confirmed as the prophet. The Lord continued to appear at Shiloh and gave messages to Samuel that the tabernacle and Samuel's word went out to all the people of Israel. So now let's break down what the word is truly saying. During this time, Samuel received a message as a young boy. And that age range ranged between 12 and 20, kind of like you guys. So I want you guys to put your name in the place where God is calling Samuel. Think about all the times that God may have said your name. Ashley, Kima, Harmony, John, whatever that name is, and it is fallen on deaf ears. Think about those times where you may have been in a crowd and you heard someone call your name, but you really couldn't figure out who was calling your name. Remember those times when you may have been sleeping in bed and in your dreams someone is calling your name, but you just can't figure out who that person was, and then you wake up and realize it's your mother? That's when you became present and you listened. But I ask you today, who is calling your name? If we look around with what's currently going on in our Christianity, things are coming at us in so many different ways. And sometimes it's the people and the things in the world, the enemy, and our fleshly desires that call our name. Be honest with yourself today and ask yourself, who's calling my name? Am I caught up in the world's definition of success, achievement, comfort? Have I allowed sin and temptation and things to take my attention off God? Or have I been selfish and only wanted to pursue and do things my way and only hear the things that I want to hear, even when the message tells you otherwise? What you have to do during those times where you feel like things are coming at you in so many different ways, you have to make yourself available to hear God's voice. Think about Samuel and what he did. He made himself available by laying in the ark in the temple. He set aside that time to really be there and connect with God and wait on him. How many times have you sat there to truly wait on God? Let's be honest. What have you allowed the world to say that you need to hurry and speed up to do? What have you allowed your fleshly desires to say, you know what? His word don't matter. I can do my own. Or what have you allowed the enemy to implant in your mind to discount and minimize the direction that God is telling you to walk in? What Samuel did, the first thing he did, he said, I have to listen. He opened up his ears to hear God. He was ready. He positioned himself so that all the noise that was coming around him didn't distract him. And I want to be clear. During this time, the voice of God, it wasn't on a regular basis. But for some reason, God chose Samuel. For some reason, he chose a boy. I think that's very important for you guys, because some of us think we have to be adults like our parents. Some of us think we have to be holy roly. Some of us think we have to play church to hear God. God is looking for you right now. All he's saying is, I need you to be available to listen, to hear me, and receive me. So the first time the Lord called out his name, Samuel, he heard it, but he really couldn't see. He didn't have the direction on where to go. But the first place he went to was his leader, his Christian leader, his support, his community, someone who he trusted, similar to the Ignite leaders here at the church. And guess what the leader did? Guided him in the right direction. He said, oh, it wasn't me. Go back to sleep. God called him again. He heard him. He's still available. It didn't go on deaf ears. The important thing is you may hear a calling and you don't know what to do. That doesn't mean you turn your back on God. That doesn't mean you follow the world or follow your own desires. That just means you be patient and wait, because the message is soon to come. So he went back, he laid down, he got all comfy, and God called him again. Samuel, Ashley, John, do you hear me? He went back to Eli. Still, no answer. He didn't give up. He stayed in front of the ark. He laid back down. And then the third time came. He listened. And he said, I am your servant. Listen to this. He listened and said, I am your servant. Listening is that first step. That takes you removing all the noise, focusing on God, and confessing to say, I am the servant. That means, Lord, I am here to walk in your will, to do what you say I need to do with pride, with courage. Think about what's currently going on today. And it's a lot of things that might incite fear within you. What I believe fear is the false evidence of things appearing real. What I believe fear is you seeing things in the eyes of the world and not seeing things through the eyes of Christ, through our Father. Samuel wasn't fearful. He said, yes, I am here. I hear you and I am your servant. I will do what you ask of me, even if I don't know what you're asking. But I'm making myself available to listen and to be your servant. Despite things fighting for your attention right now, you may have social media posts, you may have, you and the urge just want to Netflix and chill, whatever that is, to get out because you're tired of being stuck in the house. You have school coming up. You're excited in hopes to be social again. And God is saying, I need you to listen right now because there's a preparation that I'm doing inside of you. And I want to make sure before you step out into those hallways of school or life or in the street, whatever that is, you got to be ready for what's to come. But first, you got to listen. And you got to be willing to be my servant. But when he did that and said, yes, I'm listening, I'm being willing to be a servant. I also have Eli here to support me. Who are those people that are helping you fine-tune your listening ear to God's calling? Do you have the right people around you to say, yep, you know what? Go to the Word and pray. Yep, you know what? Go to your youth leaders and seek out the answers. Or do you just have yes people? Be honest with yourself. Because as things continue to change, as people continue to feel a certain type of way with what's going on, you need that community of people around you to listen to you. So make sure you have the Eli by your side. Make sure, again, that you are prepared to listen. Because when God calls your name, not once, but twice, and sometimes 3 times, he's calling you because he cares. He's calling you because he wants you to fulfill his plan and provision for your life. You just have to be ready and willing and position yourself in his presence. What does that look like? Making yourself available for him to come into your space. What do I got to do? I got to be attentive. I got to make sure that there aren't any other distractions. I got to make sure that I'm willing to focus more on him than myself. See, sometimes, it's easy for us to point the finger at God and blame him and blame the enemy on why things aren't working out the way we want it to work out. But oftentimes, we're putting more attention on self than we are on God. And we have to be honest. Look at what Samuel did. Instead of him running out and say, you know what, God called me once, I don't care, I'm going back to my day-to-day, I don't want to hear him. He said, I'm going to stay in his presence. Because there's something inside of me that's convicting me, that's telling me not to move. What you got to realize is during the ages of 12, that's the introduction of the Bar Mitzvah in the Jewish community. And so those are the years of accountability for your own behaviors. So Samuel is at an age where he can't no longer blame his mother, his daddy, his uncle, and auntie for the actions that he's done. He's now taking accountability for his own action and saying, you know what? It's important for me at this very moment to create a space, be available to God's presence. I recognize that his presence is more important than anything else. Because during that time, again, the visions and the voice of God was very rare. So if somebody came up to you, even today, think about it and say, you know what? I talked to God last night. No, I really seen him. I talked to him, and you know, he told me this story, and it ain't good. I know what's gonna happen after COVID, y'all. What would you say to that person? More than likely, you would say, man, you crazy. That's not the truth. You would deny the vision. But what Samuel did was he listened. He made himself present in the presence of God to receive the message and the vision that was given to him. He didn't fight it, regardless of what was going on around in the community back then. Because God's voice, it wasn't prevalent. But for some reason, he was chosen. He was chosen to hear it, and he was chosen to deliver the word, because he made sure that despite what was going on around him, he made himself available to the presence of God. The next step, I want you to guys, you know, when you go to the word and you really want to get an understanding of what you have to do to hear God. Guess what he did? He took action. Now, a lot of your parents and their parents and maybe even you sometimes feel like, man, I don't got to do nothing. All I got to do is pray. That's it. I just prayed, things happen, God bless me, I'm good. Our faith isn't an idle faith. It's an action faith. God wants you to take some type of action and be faithful in it. So again, Samuel was called 3 times, and yet every time he got up to search for who was calling him. How many times have you been called or been convicted or followed your intuition to say, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be hanging out with this crowd. Maybe I shouldn't be creeping out late at night with this boy or this girl. Maybe I should, study for this test so that I can make sure I get the passing grade that I need. Maybe I should apply for this scholarship because I'm trying to graduate and go to college and not just wish upon a star or pray that, God just drops it in my lap. We have to first take some action. Don't wait. So during this time where you may have extra time in the mix of COVID, feeling like you locked down in the house, discover what action God is telling you to make in the faith. And be patient and faithful in your walk. This work that God has called us to do, it's not for the faint at heart. But know that this work will continue to bless you on this journey through those lessons of failed attempts. So Samuel got up, he didn't hear him, got up again, didn't hear him. But by this time, for most people, by the 3rd or 4th time, you'll probably just lay down and let it be. And and accept whatever your flesh is telling you to do. But Samuel didn't. So because he listened, he got in God's presence, God gave him a message, and he took action. What was that action, you asked? I'm glad you asked. That action was, once he received that message, and Eli, who was a part of his community, his support, his guide at certain times, his educator. He had to go and tell him the message. You know what? I'm sorry, Eli. I got this bad message, and, I don't know if I should tell you. Eli was like, you better tell me, or something gonna happen. Samuel, even in his nervousness, even in his fear, even in his I don't know what to do, his uncertainty of Eli's response, he told him. He told him in faith. You know why? Because he believed what God said over what the world may have told him what might happen, or what he believed what might happen. He initially, I'm pretty sure going through his mind was like, oh, Eli might get mad at me. I may get kicked out of the temple. I don't know if I'll have my leader anymore, the person who's teaching me and educating me. I'm gonna lose out on all these things. See, that's the flesh. And that's what the world will tell you, right? You make somebody mad, so we won't be cool anymore. But God, it ain't like that with God. God is telling you, follow my plan. Just listen and follow the plan. I need you to take this action and be faithful in it, because I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen. So he told Eli, hey, Eli, you had some sons that did some bad things. You gave them a slap on the wrist, and I'm disappointed in you. Eli, to no surprise, let God's will be done. Samuel, with surprise, wow, okay, nothing happened to me. That was the confirmation he needed. So think about those times in life where you may have been afraid, but you took a step forward. Think about those times where God said, I need you to speak up, and you took a step forward. Think about those times where God said, be courageous with my guidance and not what the world is saying, and you took a step forward. Think about those times where you chose to focus forward and you continue to move on his plan. And look back at that path and look how far you've gone and you've come. Let me just share a little story about me. So I'm the first in my family to graduate high school and go to college. There was plenty of signs, symbols, roadblocks, whatever you want to call it, that was telling me not to walk forward, not to follow his plan. Stay where I'm at and accept my reality. Accept the world's definition of who I'm going to be. And instead, I chose to take a step forward and be faithful. And in me doing those things, even at times, I'm not even gonna lie, with me being afraid and not sure of what tomorrow will bring, I took a step forward. And thankfully, I took those steps forward because I'm here today. My faith is stronger. During those times where I may have experienced the pain, during those times where I may have experienced frustration, now I recognize that was just God stretching me. Because without me being stretched and pruned and refined, I wouldn't be walking boldly in this faith that I have today. I wouldn't be excelling and rich in spirituality, rich in family love, in my faith with my children, my church, community. All these things, if I would have accepted where he was trying to keep me, I would miss out on where God was keeping me. And I don't want you guys to do that. I don't want you to miss out, because all this abundance, all these blessings that's in front of you, it's about to overflow. But God is asking you, can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Ashley? Can you hear me now, Kason? Can you hear me now, Samaya? Nevaeh, can you hear me? I need to make sure that you can hear me. because I don't want you to fall short. I don't want you to stumble and stay on your knees. I don't want you to get in that ditch and have no one there to pick you up. I need you to stand strong during this time. I need you to pull that person along who may be struggling during COVID, who may be thinking about suicidal thoughts, who may be wanting to give up on life, who may just need a soft song in their soul. I need you here so that you can be my disciple. You can be my Samuel. And so you can speak up during this time. It doesn't matter your background, nor does it matter if you've heard from God before. You know, you always meet a Christian that hear God every day. Good for them, okay? But for you, you're gonna do all you can to be available to hear him. Just position yourself to hear God and obey God. That's what Samuel did. That's the most important thing, is how are you positioning you right now? Are you negative? Are you pessimistic about tomorrow? Or do you have that growth mindset to say, you know what? It's something great on the inside of me, and it's something great on the other side of that door. It's a gift inside of me that God wants me to give to be a present on the outside of me. Position yourself to hear God, because now is the time.
When you take in everything that she said, everything she had to say in regards to the story and the life of Samuel, and maybe you're wondering, I'm not Samuel. I'm not him. That's not me. That's not my situation. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter your situation. It doesn't matter what you're dealing with and going through. It doesn't matter what you're experiencing. It doesn't matter about the household that you live in right now. It doesn't matter about your color. It doesn't matter about your gender. It doesn't matter. But the biggest thing is making yourself available. What's interesting is that Samuel was anywhere between 12 and maybe 20 years old, but yet he made himself available. He remained close by the Ark of the Covenant. He was intentional. I just need you to be intentional. I just need you to realize, understand, and know that God has purposed you as an individual to fulfill what it is he would have before you in regards to the world that we live in. The age that you are right now, you can be a global game changer. You can be a global game changer. But what it takes to be a global game changer is that you have to make a decision. Yes, you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision to actually surrender and give your life to Christ. Now, this is the decision that you make. It's about when you say yes, this yes is different from any other time that you said yes before. But it's about you saying yes and meaning it. So today, if you're tuning in and you feel led to make a decision for Christ because you feel and you know that God has been talking to you and trying to connect and reach out to you, but you can't totally fulfill his will for your life until you say yes and give your life unto him. So today, if you feel led to make a decision for Christ, this could be your moment and this could be your time. It's about you saying, Father, I give my all to you. My way isn't working. I want to be made different. I want to be made whole. So if that is you today, give your life to Christ. It's about you praying and believing that, Father, I know that you died on the cross for my sins, my shortcomings, my transgressions. I believe and know that you rose on the third day to be victorious for each and every one of us who made a decision to surrender our life unto you. And if you believe that and you stand by it, your life will be made whole. and you may be tuning in today and you feel led to rededicate or recommit your life to Christ, we're here to receive you and accept you. Or you may feel led today to actually join the Church Without Walls membership virtually, where you can connect to be all that God has called you to be. And as a church, as a mission, as a team, we'll walk alongside with you through this moment, through this time, along this journey. So if you made a decision today to actually give your life to Christ, rededicate your life to Christ, or be a part of the church membership by joining, I want you to go to churchwithoutwalls.org and go to the guest tab. And when you go to the guest tab, you'll click on the guest tab and you'll click on either accept Christ or join the church. And somebody will connect and engage with you as a part of our assimilation team. So if you made a decision, we're going to celebrate you. We give you a virtual hand clap, a virtual round of applause, a virtual hug, and we just appreciate you. And I just want to thank my sister, man, Kima, man, for really just coming today and actually bringing the awesome word to really challenge and charge each and every one of you all where you are right now. Hey, don't be afraid to know that God can speak to you in your current state, but it's about you being willing and making yourself available. So Kima, man, we really appreciate you, all right? And hey, don't leave just yet. We're actually gonna have our announcements and our benediction, and we're gonna have a quick segment where we'll sit down and talk to Kima, just a little dialogue and discussion with our post-Ignite segment, all right? Let's get it going. Welcome back, everybody. We got an Ignite post segment right now. Hey, Kima, man, a phenomenal job, girl.
Thank you.
Bringing the heat. Hey, let's talk about it right quick. So when you think about, young people today, and when you think about like Samuel, you think about like his story, and at a young age, and hearing from God and everything going on in the world today, why do you think it's so hard for young people to truly hear? And let's talk about that a little bit.
I think it has something to do with believing that I could receive something from God at such a young age. Is this something real? What are people going to think if I come with a vision of, hey, God gave me this and he sat this on my heart?
I mean, so when you think about the battle and the struggles, and you work with young people as well as myself, even outside the church, what do you think that we can do better? What do you think that we can do better?
I think giving them space to really explore Christ on their own. Like, a lot of us put our own doctrines and our own structures and our own rules on what we think our kids need to be doing. But how they connect with God and get to know him is different than how we connected with God.
Right.
Think about us growing up. We grew up, for me at least, grew up in a very traditional Baptist church. And sometimes those traditions clouded me really connecting and really having that strong spiritual relationship with God.
Right. Okay.
I think, that's one of them for sure.
That's one of them. But I grew up in the hood. I grew up in the hood. There was nothing really traditional outside of like hood rules in my house. But no. You said tradition. You can't go from tradition to the hood. You know what I'm saying? Time out. You can't go from tradition. So you was traditional. Okay, you was more traditional. I was like in the hood, but at the same time, I made my way to the church.
Yeah.
Traditional, but you was in church. And I think the biggest thing for most young people to truly hear from God, they have to make themselves available to actually be connected with the church.
Yes.
If it's traditional or hood. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, I think that's the thing I want the young people to know. I mean, you have to be available to get outside your comfort zone, to put yourself in the position to actually connect with the church, because you have so many ways. We're doing this virtual right now. Right. We're keeping our social distance.
Yep.
And so we're doing it virtual. But the thing about it is, it's about being available.
Yes.
Being available.
Yep.
And so, as a parent, you talk about being a parent and everything, got some amazing kids, right? So what are you doing to position your kids in regards to hearing from God? What is it that you do, like, as a parent? Because we even have parents tuning in as well.
Yeah. Well, so our kids actually attended the school here at the Church Without Walls, Brook Hollow Christian Academy. Whoop, whoop. So they've been in the presence of God literally like 6 times, 6 days out of the week. So we make sure, we educate them from a godly perspective. They have their devotionals, but I do allow them space to get to know God on their own and in their own way. Yeah. So Siani, she's 3. She may like to color, right? Junior, he like hearing God through music. Right. Nevaeh loves her Bible, loves her devotional, and her journaling. So being creative, instead of being so rigid, we just gotta, I do believe in creating those boundaries, but sometimes we got to get off the gas because we don't want our children to resent God because they have so much rules and you know, things that block them from being available.
Okay, good point. So if you're youth, you're tuning in, you know, make yourself available. If it's traditional, hood, or in between, right, make yourself available. And then parents, think outside the box.
Yes, thinking outside the box.
Think outside the box.
That's very important.
So as we wrap up this segment, what is it that you would say to any young person tuning in about hearing from God? Like any parting thought, no rap, phrase, rhyme, scheme, whatever you want to, you know, the parting thoughts, what you want to bring to the people.
What I want you guys to most importantly get out of this message is don't think of a defined way, you know, that you have to connect with God. Think of your way. And if you don't know a way, you seek out your leaders here at the church. You go to your parents and explore, but then most importantly, you go to God in prayer and allow him to guide you. Like Samuel, he made himself available. He listened. He opened up space for God's presence. But most importantly, he took action and maintained faithfulness in all he did. Be faithful and be present and be patient.
Hey.
To sum it up.
That's good stuff. Thanks for sharing, Kima, man. Thanks for coming on with Ignite Sunday Live, man, letting the Lord use you in a major way.
Thank you for allowing me to share the platform. I really do appreciate it. I'm thankful.
Blessings unto you. Did a phenomenal job. Hey, we're about to sign this thing out, Ignite Sunday Live. Hey, remember, tune in next week. Facebook, YouTube, we're getting it going in a major way. And for those Ignite students participating, we have huddles immediately after this, so get with your huddle leaders so we can get this thing going. Hey, see you all next week. Deuces. Let's roll out, Kima.
Look this way. I want to bless you as we prepare to go into the world as salt and light. And didn't we have a marvelous worship experience today? We are so fortunate to live in an age where we have this kind of technology, where we can bring the gospel of Jesus Christ into your home. In fact, a theme we can use is bring God's house to your house. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face smile upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift the light of his countenance on you and grant you his peace. And may the Lord bless you when you go out and come in, when you rise up early and settle late, in your labor and in your leisure, in your laughter and in your tears, until that day when we shall stand at the feet of Jesus, where there's no sunrise or sunset. Be encouraged.